Good evening. Hello, everyone who is joining us either live or on demand. My name is Erin Raethke. I am joined by the wonderful Eyles. How are you this evening, Ben?
I'm very good, Erin. I'm tired. It's been a big week. I nearly had a nap before, but then I thought, no, you can't have a nap at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night. So I'm pushing through. But yeah.
I know. Isn't that one of the perks of being an adult, though? It's like dessert for breakfast, naps when you wanna.
Yeah, I know. But I'm like, yeah, but then you've got to explain to the kids or like eat it when they're outside. It's just a lot. Yeah.
That is very true. Yeah, like we've had a huge week in our house as well. So it's kind of like we're getting to Saturday night. We're like, okay, we're doing great. Thank goodness where I am, it's a long weekend this weekend.
Oh,
So
nice.
that is an absolute bonus because I had an extremely full week of trying to get things done and then coming down with yet another head cold.
Yes.
Like midweek, right before the conference. And I was just like, no, the cold and flu season this year is just smashing us. And I'm not the only one. Like a lot of people are feeling it. It's really just like you seem to just get over one thing and then something else sweeps through your house. It's an absolute shocker. But unlike, the usual fates and the way they work, even though I was presenting at a conference, I didn't actually lose my voice. I just drank a lot of like apple juice and fizzy water mixed together.
Is that a doctor recommended thing, or is that just
riding the sugar high? Absolutely.
Is it just coat it? Yeah.
Absolutely. Just balancing your energy levels. You feel yourself start to dip. Bit more apple juice, bit more fizzy water. Picks you right up. Just something just to keep yourself going. And because the fizziness makes it feel like a cheeky treat.
Nice.
So we on Thursday got to see each other virtually, of course, because we both attended, presented, and moderated at the Adobe Educators Conference for 2025.
We did. That was a fun day. I took the day off from the day job, and I just to enjoy it all. And yeah, no worries, and just talented people showing cool things to interested people. It was good fun.
Yeah, and so many like well thought out presentations. People who have very deep and considered viewpoints on a lot of different topics, and have put a lot of thought into their presentations, a lot of work, a lot of time. One of my everyone's presentation that I attended was amazing, and I didn't get to attend them all because it was the format of the day. For those of you who may not have heard of this particular event, it's a free event for educational staff. It covers from K to 12 through to higher ed and TAFE. And so they had two different streams. They had the K to 12 stream and they had the higher ed stream, which incorporated TAFE people as well as universities. And so because of the two streams, it meant there were two keynote speakers that spoke for each different stream. And like I personally am looking forward to the opportunity to the recordings for some of the sessions that were running at the same time as something, knowing that I had the option to attend something live, but then obviously catch up on demand later was always a really, really worthwhile thing. And that's something you can't really do with a face-to-face event, is get what you get and you don't get upset because there's only so many sessions you have at the time.
That's it. Whereas this, you can have them all and more than once.
Absolutely. One of my favorite I guess the thing that one of the sessions that I attended made me think the most was Pip Cleaves talking about how they've just her school. It is just acquired an old like a heritage listed prison, and they are like converting and repurposing all of the different spaces for a learning environment for all of their students, because I think they said that they have students from 4 to 20.
And I like that.
Yeah, and it was really cool. Like she had the plans for the prison and like being a person who majored in like ancient and early modern history, got my archaeology vibes on. She was talking about, how they're having to use like ground penetrating radar to try to find some unmarked graves of the property because they can't just like put in a veggie patch anywhere because there's people
Yeah.
at
Mm-hmm.
the site that have been buried somewhere where they'd like to put in like dig up and put in gardens and like garden beds for the win, I guess. Look for particularly healthy trees. Like what do you having to like
Where the frost won't lay or something. Isn't that a thing?
Yeah, so she's like coordinating with this like the heritage societies and stuff and going through all the permissions to actually try to locate these people that are on premises permanently. And then, because it's an interesting thing. So like some of the kids are like, there are real dead bodies here. That's so cool. So she's like, yeah. So they're like learning through history and that sort of thing about how these things work. It's all very, very cool. So I really enjoyed listening to the presentation and going through the process of, repurposing those spaces and how they structure their learning for their students, a lot of whom do sort of identify in the neurodiversity spectrum of different people with different needs and how they try to cater the learning to that. So I really enjoyed, because she's always just so enthusiastic when talking about catering the learning to the students and still achieving really great outcomes based on what their needs are and what really compels them to want to learn, which I loved. What about you, Ben?
Yeah. Well, I liked Craig Delmeyer Power. I always get his name wrong.
Yeah, Delmeyer Power. Yep. No, you nailed it.
I didn't get it wrong. Nice.
Yes.
So he put on a really good show about using AI in the classroom and building things, and they were making like a bento box of things that were important to them. Yeah, and he sort of talks about the more you put into the prompt, the more you get out of it. But that underpinning thing of like the AI bit is the start. And it's when it gets interesting is it's AI plus Express or AI plus Photoshop. That's when it's like it's just gets more fun, more possibilities, all that kind of stuff. Just typing something into the box isn't finishing it; it's the start. Yeah.
It was really interesting. Just recently in my workplace, I wrote a script for a video. And then knew that a coworker was going to be doing a speaking tour of different meetings and stuff to present the information that the video was about. So I took the script that we had collaboratively written that we knew was technically correct, because technically correct is the best kind of correct. And I'd done the video was finished. Took that script that had been written, pushed it into the AI tool of choice for my organization and said, convert these into talking points for a presentation. And then what it spat out as I'm going through it, and, I sort of went, that's no. And it was literally just referencing a single document. So everything that was in that document was correct, but it just it started to get, I think, a little bit confused about some of the terminology and was sort of like blending a couple of things together. So you really can't just go click, done, submit. I went through, because I'm me, I can't just go, oh yeah, a couple of words on a slide. I had to put a little bit of razzle dazzle onto it. So as I'm going through and putting it onto our beautiful template and making sure that it aesthetically was very pleasing, I'm also fact checking all of the content and going, nope, swap it around. Nope, there's more dot points. It's it's actually talking about the same thing 3 times. Nope, yep. And it was really good because I'm not the content expert on that particular topic. So I then sent it to that person who knew all the things, and then they went through and made their modifications. And I do think it did ultimately save us a bit of time in summarizing the script, but it was still, a significant investment to make sure that what was paraphrased out of my original script by that tool was still actually correct and real and right. It's so important. You can't just set and forget. You really can't. It was enthusiastic interning so hard for me.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think it's not even that enthusiastic. I'm a bit, I don't know. I'm a bit bummed out by AI at the moment. It's okay. I don't mind I think there's some good creative tools there, but
yeah, I did it as a bit of a thought exercise because I'm like, I know the content. I know that I can bung it into a presentation. Let's just see what it spits out and see if it will actually save me time. And as I'm going through it, I'm going, okay, it possibly saved a little bit of time with, just breaking it apart and putting it into the slides and everything. But ultimately, I kind of went, it still needed multiple humans looking at it and going, you know what? No, yes, no. Actually, this needs to be added in. Actually, that needs to be taken out. Actually, that's been duplicated from there to there. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a step. If you're thinking AI is the one step in the process, you probably need to rethink it, I think. I mean, there's some AI miracles out there. But there's not as many as I thought there would be by now. I think I still like the one that I always lean heavy on is the enhanced speech in Adobe, Adobe Podcast. It's popping up in other spots.
Yes, the enhanced speech tool. It is very, very good. Like, I am very impressed because I do stuff in Audition. And I tweak things and, layer things and take noise prints and then, and adjust all the levels, and the consistency of how good it is, especially since it can differentiate between like background music and the voice, and if it can cut the background music out entirely if there's background music in the video, or you can just like up the levels a little bit and adjust those individually, is so good, so useful. Especially when you've maybe coming down with a bit of a lurgy and you are running behind because everything is harder when you're sick. Just being able to like lean on a tool like that has been really, really super helpful. I'm a big fan.
So that's proper AI. I like that thing a lot. Yeah.
But that being said, I still go into Audition and modify things manually, because that's, again, it's like I can press a button and I can get a pretty good result, but the sound richness, especially in stereo, you can't beat going in and doing it in Audition manually. But it depends, like the right tool for the right job. If it's a quickie video and it's, maybe not going to have a huge audience, or it's going to expire really quickly because something's going to change soon, like where do you put your effort? To making the content just that little bit snazzier looking, or to making it sound like imperceptibly different to anyone but you and maybe another sound engineer.
Well, and it depends on obviously the content of what you're talking about too. If it's something you don't, I'm reasonably confident with the terms and conditions of the Adobe stuff. They can be, but still, if it's something that's a conversation and you need to pull out the details from it, it's like, well, if it can't leave the computer, it can't leave the computer. So
that's exactly right, and that's totally as you said, a situational thing, an organizational thing. Like, you have to be so particular with these kind of tools to make sure that you're not accidentally putting information out there that isn't yours to share. It's something that we all have to be very mindful of, because the click and drag and drop is entirely too easy an interface to get overly comfortable with. Is that a good way of putting it?
That's a good way. And no one knows where the line is anymore. When quick story, when we because obviously Bing, I don't know if anyone actually browses with Bing or searches with, but if you do and you're on your work computer, you will see how integrated it is with the stuff on your computer. So it kind of feels like, I remember when I was on the service desk, they would talk previous jobs, they would, my stuff's on the internet, I'm on Bing, here's my thing. And it's like, it's really hard to, one, explain that, and two, to trust it.
Yeah, that's one thing in my workplace. One of a mental health safety share I did with my colleagues one day was to show them how to turn off all of the news articles and everything that opened up in Edge when they first opened
Oh,
up the browser to use it, because it just inundates you with all of this like news. Some of it's like celebrity stuff, some of it's like bombing stuff of international conflicts. And so you'd open up the browser to do literally anything and you just get smacked by all of
oh,
this stuff. And I was like, oh no, there's a setting for that. You go over there and you can actually turn it off so it's just a screen. And they were like, oh my God.
that's so good. Yeah.
That's the little
Yeah.
things. It's a little thing. Sometimes you really just don't need doom and gloom every time you open your screen.
But who
Sometimes it's
thinks
just
that's a
nice
good
to like,
idea? Who thinks that's a
yeah.
good idea? I don't know. I can't even.
Yeah, it's all good, man. It's the advertising revenue is the
Yeah.
dollar. The dollar is the motivator behind lots of interesting things in our world nowadays. Oh my
True
goodness.
that.
And we're old
Hey,
enough to remember the early years of the internet with dial-up modems and chat boards,
yeah.
where discussion boards where you jump in and there might have been like an ad here or there, and they usually like wiggled weirdly, and then
Yeah.
you knew not to click on anything because it would give your computer a virus.
That's it.
Don't
Yes,
click
that
on
was good.
anything.
MSN Messenger. Also.
Oh, MSN Messenger, AOL chat. Oh, the
Yeah,
days, the days.
that's it. And you had to get off the phone. I mean, get off the internet because mum needed to call grandma.
Yeah, and someone would not be able to get through because you'd be on the internet. You wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to necessarily. And that was only in my very late high school years that having the internet at home was an option. So I am dating myself there.
Nah. Yeah, I'm not far behind. Yeah.
So speaking of changing technology, segue.
That's
During the conference, I did reach out to Tim Kitchen from Adobe, who was
doctor.
one of the main orchestrators of this particular event. He and the Adobe team put together an amazing program. And I asked him if he would be interested in doing a little bit of a guest spot with us on the show this evening. Now, he actually wasn't able to attend our live stream because he had another an engagement, a previous engagement that he was going to be attending. But see, he did kindly sit down with me yesterday, and I have a pre-recorded session with him where we talk about a few things, recap a couple of elements of the conference, as well as talk about things that and projects that he is currently up to. I have so much time for Tim. He is a kind and accommodating and wonderful mentor, a consummate professional, and I personally have learned a lot from him and am trying really hard to actually pay forward the professional generosity that he has shown me every chance I can get. So without further ado, I might flick over to that interview, Ben.
Roll the tape.
Roll the tape.
Roll the tape.
And hello to Tim Kitchen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Erin. It's a real privilege to be with Create, Share, Learn. It's one of my favorite YouTube shows. You're doing such a fantastic job, you and Ben. And I love your little title there, the Kitchen Think. That's pretty cool.
I can only give Ben credit for that one. I thought it was very cute. I know, given that in fact your name is Kitchen, it's probably not the first time you've heard that particular one potentially, or a variant of it, but we do love the way you think, Tim, and we obviously appreciate all of the support that you've been given Ben and my live streams. It's always much appreciated for your incredible reach and all of the plugs you give us to help reach a wider audience of other enthusiastic educators who just like to learn and share stuff.
Absolutely. No, it is a pleasure. It's a wonderful community that we have of educators, ed tech gurus, and people who are just classroom teachers looking forward to enhance their teaching and learning through a range of different digital tools. And of course, working for Adobe, I tend to focus on the Adobe, but when you think about it, it's all about creativity when it boils down to it, and enhancing creativity. And Erin, as you well know, as I've mentioned many times, teaching creativity and encouraging creative skills is going to help best prepare our students for the future. So that's what it's fundamentally all about. And of course, Adobe is the world's leading digital creativity software company. So, you know, we're pretty good at helping teachers do that.
Yep, the right tool for the right job. And speaking of, you know, creativity and skill building and educators, Ben and I, during this episode, are doing a recap of the wonderful Adobe Educators Conference that we were only just a part of a couple of days ago. So Ben and I both ran a workshop, and, you know, there was obviously offered up our skills to moderate for other people's sessions, as well as enjoying all of the wonderful segments and speakers, because it would have been a mammoth task for you to pull that event together and have and coordinate so many, like, very gifted but also very busy individuals. Kudos to you and the Adobe team. It was an amazing event. What would you say was your personal highlight?
Well, the whole thing was the fact that it all just worked relatively seamlessly. We did have a couple of moderators and one presenter have to pull out the last minute because of illness. And Erin, you stepped in to help with one of the moderation sessions, which was really, really helpful.
I did. I just squeaked in there too, Tim, because I came down with a bug like the day and a half before the workshop. So I'm so glad that it was online, because then I could just sort of, you know, I just was just well enough to power through. This extended cold and flu season would just play havoc with arranging events like yours.
Yeah, that's true. But we were expecting it. We always have plan B and plan C, and that's part of the planning process. In some ways, it was easier to run this year because it was all totally virtual. So I didn't have to worry about hotel bookings and getting to different venues and flights. Last year, some of you may remember, we actually ran 2 hybrid events, one in Melbourne and one in Sydney. And that was terrific. But a lot of extra work with all those extra logistics. And in fact, Erin, we've been doing a form of this event since around about 2014. So it's been many of these types of seminars and conferences during the September, October holidays for many years. And it's been great to get involved and have so many teachers come in and out of the community through those years and be presenters and be leaders, but also just to show some interest in maybe just one aspect of one application that they join in, and that's all they're interested in, and that's perfectly fine. But as I said earlier, it's all about enhancing creativity.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you know, speaking of you know, focusing on one aspect or one element of one particular app or one creative process, that was the biggest challenge that I found being a presenter for the conference, was to pick an element of a topic and then to be able to then present all of the ideas that you're super excited to share in only a 45-minute window, because you had so many sessions, and that shorter duration meant that you could obviously have more presenters. But I don't know, I struggled to try to share everything that I wanted to share with everybody in a 45-minute session, but I felt it was really good because it gave you a variety of presenters to showcase as well. So longer sessions, less presenters maybe. It's a bit of a hard juggling act.
Yeah, we need to look at the feedback we've had over many years, and we tend to know that people's concentration spans in an event like this starts to wane at around about the 30-40 minute mark. So 45 minutes is kind of good. It's not really ideal for a workshop. You really want it to be a minimum of an hour, but it is possible, and you can get things done a lot quicker in 45 minutes as well. So it's a challenge, but it seemed to work all right.
It was a challenge, and I know that a couple of people that attended my workshop did actually follow along with some of the activities, because my focus was I didn't want to just be sage on the stage. I wanted to have everybody who came along or watched my workshop on demand to actually be able to walk away with activities. So I had, like, I think half a dozen or so templates for people to remix and use so that they could take it away. As I mentioned, watch me on demand, pause me, have a bit of a play, unpause me, and follow along at their convenience. Speaking of which, Tim, that was one of the most common questions I was seeing through the sessions that I attended, not just as a presenter or a moderator, but also as a participant, is that people were super keen to watch the recordings. Some people had to step away partway through, or they missed the first bit. So those recordings will be going out to people in the coming weeks, won't they?
Yeah, they'll start coming out as of today, actually. And today being, we're recording this on Friday the 3rd, so the day before this goes live to air. So by the time you're watching this show, there should be quite a few recordings already available on the conference site. Now, Erin, I know you probably haven't got it all set up to show us the conference site, but maybe in the pre-record at some point you can share the conference website, because that's where people will find it.
Actually, I do still have all of this, is because the conference for me, as of this moment, only happened yesterday. So I actually still have all of my browser windows open. So if you look on the screen here, we've got the landing page for the conference site up here, and I will actually just grab the long link and I'll quickly put that up on the screen. So is this the page where you're going to be adding the buttons to access the recordings?
That is correct. And I'm going to look up the short URL to make it easier for people.
That'd be great for me to pop on the banner.
Yeah, the short URL is...
I do have it somewhere.
So it's adobe.ly.
Yes.
Yeah, adobe.ly. And then it's APAC, capital APAC. Then there's a hyphen, edu, hyphen, conference 25.
And it was the uppercase C conference, wasn't it?
It was an uppercase C for conference and an uppercase E for edu. I'm not sure if it's case sensitive. But
wait a second, let's just see, because I have my history. So we go Educators, there it is. adobe.ly/APAC-edu-conference 25. So let's just pop that into the banner there for people. And there we go.
Excellent. Well done, Erin. As efficient as ever.
No problems. Oh, just a little unintentional plug for my own. Lovely. There we go. I might take that off the stream. There we go. So I definitely recommend that people check that out. Check out the on-demand recordings. There was so many parallel sessions that I would have loved to have attended, but they were in the same time frame. So I did a bit of a cheeky thing where I just registered for everything on one email as a participant, and then I had my other email that actually had my links as a presenter, just so that I didn't accidentally cross-pollinate and try to join my own session as a presenter with a participant link, because that wouldn't have let me in and given me the right access. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the opportunity to moderate for Ben Eyles, who obviously I co-host Create, Share, Learn Live with, the live streams. And also Chrissa, and I will pronounce her last name, is it Chrissa Diamante?
Yep, that sounds right.
Yep. So she was absolutely wonderful, and I actually we did the final session of the day together. I was her moderator, and she covered off a lot of stuff for Adobe Podcast, which was, and then like creating a thumbnail for your own podcast using the generate, text to image capabilities within Adobe Express. And again, like lots and lots and lots of things were shared in the Padlet for that. So if I just add my screen to the stage here, because there was a Padlet for the event where people could share what they created. And will that Padlet remain open for a little while, Tim, so that people who are watching on demand can still like add what they've created?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we'll probably add it to the website as well, so people can just jump into it and have a look.
Oh, fabulous. Because, yeah, you can see so many people did participate in the activities. I will just note that when I entered into the Padlet, I noticed when I added something new, it chucks in the new stuff at the bottom. So if you think that your entry has disappeared, it doesn't. It just shuffles down to the bottom of the page. But here you'll see some of the thumbnails that were created during Chris's workshop. Someone added a little animation that they created during my workshop from one of my pre-done templates. Where they played along with me, which was fantastic, and just so many really wonderful entries that people have added here, sharing the stuff that they've created during that event. So really, really enjoyable, really well done.
So many creative educators out there willing to share, which is just wonderful. And I think that's a natural part of being a teacher, is that you're wanting to share your knowledge, share your experience. And it's nice that we can do that amongst each other in a professional manner, such as the conference we ran. It was terrific.
Well, and it was greatly appreciated. It's such an important part, especially with all of the pressures that educational professionals are under in this, well, forever, but in this day and age, and particularly being able to find a format and a community where you can foster creativity and enthusiasm, things that can get you excited, things that make you look forward to PD events are just completely invaluable. So I really can't congratulate you and the wider Adobe team as well enough. Molly and Al and the other people from Adobe who worked very hard to make this event a wonderful success. So thank you from all of the educators who participated to you and the Adobe team. Thank you so much for another wonderful conference for educational professionals.
Thank you, Erin. Let me just show you some of the results of the feedback too, which was pretty amazing. A great comment here, which we'll be publishing. It's 93% agreed or strongly agreed that the overall quality of the event was excellent. So that's my big statement too, out of all the people who did the feedback, which was around about 38% of the attendees did the feedback. So it's a pretty good representation.
That is good, because there were a lot of registrants, and I mean 93% of high satisfaction rating. Anyone would be proud to have that statistic. Absolutely. So yeah, congratulations, Tim, on a job well done.
Thank you very much, Erin. It's wonderful.
And was there anything else that, other than the conference, you have been traveling a lot, you've got a lot of things on. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us before I let you go on this beautiful Friday afternoon?
Well, I'm usually not allowed to share my other side of my consultancy work when I'm doing Adobe events, but this isn't strictly an Adobe event, is it? So, because many of you would know about this. Oh my goodness, look what Erin's got there. Oh, here you go.
It takes pride of place on my shelf. Right there is where it usually lives.
So it's being promoted. Now look at the title. The best way to learn is to make creativity in a Gen AI world. It became a bestseller on Amazon in the education category soon after it was published last year, and it's still selling reasonably well. So it was fun to put together. It took quite a while. It took quite a lot of negotiations with Adobe actually to even mention some of the work that I do with Adobe, and I got that across the line. And fortunately, it happened all around the time when Gen AI was coming a big thing. So otherwise I would have published it maybe a year or two before it came out, and it wouldn't be anywhere near as relevant today as it currently is with all the Gen AI stuff. So it's a good read, and I'm currently writing my next book, which is not related to Gen AI. It's not related to EdTech. Oh, you found the link. Good. There you go. You can just look up best way to learn is to make, or even just look up Tim Kitchen in Amazon, and it should come up. There's various ways for it to come up. But you might be interested to know, Erin, my new book, which hopefully will come out at the end of the year, if not early next year, is actually a history book. It's a book about my family who came into Melbourne during the gold rush, and they started a manufacturing, a soap and candle making business, which became one of Melbourne's largest manufacturing organizations. They invented what would recognize today, it's still used today, velvet soap and Solvol soap. And then they became, they were called JJ Kitchen and Sons at the time, and then they became Lever and Kitchen, and then Unilever took over. So they're still under the banner today of Unilever.
Yes, I've recognised the brand from other products. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So it's an interesting history. And then from that, looking at all the other different things that happened in the time of Melbourne, from the gold rush through to more recent days that connect. So it's a history book, very different to what I was writing. And I don't need to go to any Adobe lawyers to get any permission to publish this one.
So what we might want to do then, Tim, is go to your bookseller of choice and follow the author. Keep an eye out.
Yeah, well, Amazon has to be your bookseller of choice because that's the only way you're going to get access to it. So don't go to the local bookstore. It's not going to be there.
So no, that's fantastic, Tim. Well, I will definitely look forward to keeping an eye out for that, because it is one of those things that is really, really interesting when you sort of think back about your family history and you think back about, the different things that your family has achieved or accomplished. Like, say, for instance, my last name is of German origin because my grandparents immigrated to Australia with children in tow in the 50s. And, they led, fairly quiet working class lives, but they achieved so much. And, being aware and appreciative of the history of your family is, and the accomplishments that they have, the way they worked, the way they achieved what they achieved is such an important thing. You can learn so much from the past and from your personal history as well. I mean, these people are a part of you. You carry their legacy forward.
That's right. Yeah.
Really, it is a beautiful thing to know a little bit more about your family.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with those sentiments. And I learned so much about not only Melbourne's history, but about my family, a lot of things that I didn't know. And I'm glad I'm able to document it. My father actually started a lot of the research. He did the genealogy and all of that before he passed away. And I found an old box of his that I'd kept in storage and noticed all of this work that he'd done. So I'm now starting to put that work together to actually do this publication. And my auntie is my editor, and she's been editing away my first draft that I worked on in January, and I'll hopefully be finishing it off when I'm taking some time off later this month. And then we'll see how we go, if we can get it done by the end of the year, or if not, early next year.
That's so wonderful, because I can appreciate that, because I no longer have any of my grandparents, so I can't ask them questions about where our family was from. I try to remember details about stories that they've told, but names, places, they all become fuzzy after a while. And if you don't have someone who keeps track of these things, then you really you lose that connection to the places that were at one time very important. After all, in the end, after 100 years, aren't we all just a story that somebody else has told? So
exactly, yeah.
It's
very thoughtful, Erin.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate your time. I look forward to learning some more about the kitchen history and how it is intertwined with the milestones of Melbourne history. And thank you very, very much for joining us.
Good on you, Erin. Thank you, and all the best to you and to Ben with the show. Bye, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today.
Thank you so much, Tim. Cheers. There we go.
What a legend. We could release that as its own video, I think.
Yes, I think that would be a really great idea, because it was a good interview. I always enjoy talking to.
Yeah.
And and the other thing is too, you don't realize until, because I usually don't tend to watch these live streams back too much, because I don't like to pick apart how I speak, and you don't realize how much you say
yeah.
So in my defense, it was a Friday afternoon. I was very
post conference. You should have
post conference.
You both did very well. Back up for that. Well done.
But no, he was as always an absolutely wonderful speaker, and his additions to this show are appreciated. And there I went again saying So speaking of the conference, during my session, I definitely got a bit over ambitious with how much I could squeeze into a 45-minute window.
Samesies.
I was very fortunate, I suppose, insofar as my session was right before the lunch break, and a couple of people hung in there with me for a couple of extra minutes while I was just like, oh, and then the thing, and then the stuff. But because my workshop wasn't intended to be a speaking piece, it was intended to be a workshop where people were going to be taking away either their own created samples that they make from scratch, or by using some of the templates that I had created. I made a bunch of different templates for people to play with depending upon what they found interesting. And there's a couple little things that I didn't get to cover during my workshop that I would actually like to just quickly show during our next segment. How about you, Ben? Was there something that you really would have liked to have covered off in your... You ran out of a little bit of time?
Yeah, I reckon if I had 3 more minutes, or call it 10 more minutes, we would have really gone into detail. But if I take 3 minutes tonight, I've got a few things. Yeah.
Well, we've just hit the 42-minute mark, so I reckon it's time for...
That's Newt.
That's Newt.
Hey. I love that one.
Okay, Ben, you first.
Oh, good. Let me push some buttons here. Boink, boink. And I want to share this screen, which should have, if all goes well, Dr. Tim Kitchen's book on the screen. Look at that. It's lovely.
Yeah, boy.
All right. So watch my tape back when Tim finishes editing it. That's his YouTube. It'll pop up on that other page too, but you could subscribe here and it'll come. He's done a fair bit. Look at them all. 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's only probably got 25 more to go. But I talked about things that I had a higher ed stream, things that teachers want to do but get in the way of, but life gets in the way of doing. I also talked about engaging adults, and it kind of came down to the same old stuff. Yeah, there's lots of cool, shiny stuff, but the work I'm doing most of the time as a product design lead with that hat on, really good photos with a twist, really good videos, sometimes with a twist, and then other bits and pieces. In the presentation, it was the other bits and pieces we kind of ran out of time. So other bits and pieces are things like you've got something, but it needs a tweak. It needs an edit. It's not quite there. And that's where the resource either goes out to the learner and it's not perfect. And then there's an engagement kind of translation problem. Or you just never get around to sharing it because one page isn't right, or you don't like the thing and you never swap out the thing. So
yeah, can you find 20 minutes to make it 10% better?
Exactly. It's a bit old and chatty. The heart of it's good. I'll fix it one day. One day never comes around. If you go into Adobe Express, this is my homepage. Mine's a little bit different. If you K-12, it'll look different. If you're if you're buying it off the street, so to speak, and it'll look different. Mine's kind of higher ed, and I'm not coming from an Adobe campus. So that's why mine looks like this. Keep digging wherever you're digging for the quick editing tools. These things are rad. And if you go to view all, you'll see all of them. And there's heaps. So things like you've got a photo, you want to take the background off it, but who's got time to go into Photoshop to do that? You can bung it in here, you can do it. If you want a QR code that looks a little bit better than the one that Chrome and Edge make, you can bung in here, fire that up. It's really quick. And you've got a lot more artistic controls, format controls, just in this little thing here. Neat. Really quick. And you've got what else have we got in here that I love? I'm getting a bit of echo from somewhere. It's bumming me out. It's not your fault, Erin. I think it might be me.
I can't hear it on my end, so you're shiny on this end. Shiny and new.
Good. All right. So resize images. You just want to do a quick tweak. You want to make a GIF out of a little bit of a video. Easy. You want to convert a weird video file just to an MP4. Yes. Chuck it in there. it'll fix it. You've got a video and you want to make it more accessible, caption videos, that's rad. Click in there, drag it in, it cooks for a bit. You choose the language that was spoken in it, makes a really nice subtitled video. Oh, love it. And other little bits and pieces. One that goes really nice with captured video is, of course, Clip Maker. So, for example, you've got a big lesson, you've recorded it on Zoom or Teams or something, and there's little nuggets of learning in there that you think, one day I'm going to learn how to video edit. I'm going to pull those bits out and I'm going to put them into Moodle or whatever you're using. And you never do. Chuck the big thing into Clip Maker. It'll listen to it, it'll caption it, it'll do a whole bunch of things, and it will find the gold, and it'll go and chunk them out into 2 or 3 minute videos. And you'll have a nice little time there. It takes a while, like you might chuck it in and it might cook for, if it's a short video, it might cook for 10 minutes. If it's a long video, it might cook for an hour. But it'll give you all these generated little clips made up of your content. It'll do some stuff where it'll resize it. So if you shot it in horizontal, you might get some verticals. You can tweak that after the fact. You set your aspect ratio in here. You can decide if you want to add brushes. That's a mad little thing in there that has actually saved a heap of stuff from I'll edit it one day to actually using it. All right, keep on going. Sorry, I know. PDFs. It's getting harder and harder to get a license to PDF software anymore as IT budgets shrink and shrink. Express does a pretty good job. You can edit.
It does such a good job.
Yeah. It's like, do you even need a full license, bro, when you can come in here and do that?
And you could add elements into it, like graphic elements to it so easily. That's the thing. I think it absolutely smacks Adobe Acrobat for the average user, because Adobe Acrobat can achieve so many things, like the full licensed version, but all the stuff you can do in Express from like a more creative engagement point of view.
Well, it's like you take that chatty PDF you've been printing off and handing out for years, you chuck it into this, it maps it, you can edit the text, it's easy, you can make it into a nicer font that's more legible, great. You can then start dropping in the photos from the Adobe Express library. You can generate some stuff in there. It's just a good time, a good, clean fun. Animate characters. You would have seen that a few times at the conference. If you don't feel like being on camera, you can chuck a little script into that, and it makes a good-looking character. Then it gets weird in a fun way. Convert to JPEG, convert to PNG, crop a photo, make a logo, update your profile picture, put some photos together into a collage. That's awesome. Little trick with this, if you start off with some photos and then you swap the photos out for video, still works. Way easier than trying to make a collage in Premiere or whatever your editor is. Chuck it in there, start from there. Here's some other PDF things in here. So you convert a Word doc to PDF, combine the files, organize the pages. And then you've got some nice little generative AI stuff there too. Convert from PDF to something. This little bucket, quick editing tools. It's just such a nice little toolkit. They actually make the stuff.
I mean, it used to be a little toolkit. Now it's actually like quite extensive, and they seem to be adding new stuff all the time.
It's like the tradie van. It's awesome. And then, like, if you're trying to think, like, oh, one day I might even post it to social media. Bosh, this is the scheduler. This is just in there. Like, people pay heaps for this. They get some other application to do it. You can hook up all your socials to it, chuck your content you've made onto it. Does a whole bunch of these things, helps you write it. They're the two things I wanted to get across and kind of ran out of time. So thank you, Erin. I can go to bed with a clear conscience now. Appreciate
Got it covered. I will just note that for people with that are operating off of their work email to access Express, if you're K-12, I believe most schools do not have, or I think all schools in K-12, you do not have scheduler for you, especially for your students, because obviously it's a protective mechanism for all of our underage students. You don't want them posting, scheduling things to be posted to social media accounts that, you know, technically by the end of this year, or at least after December, they're not going to have social media accounts anymore as a protective mechanism.
No, that makes sense. We're not going to. There's no back doors to break laws. Yeah.
No sneaky sneakies.
And
I'm pretty sure.
So, you know, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, and I mean, and in the adult learning space, I do think that the scheduler is actually something that you can turn on and off as an admin for your organization.
Yeah.
So you might find if you're in a university or in a TAFE and you on a private license for Express, you will have the schedule button there. If you go into your work email, you might find that it is not there because your organization has like unilaterally gone, no, nobody needs access to this particular thing. We don't want you putting your content that is copyrighted by our educational institution onto your own social media accounts. No, sweetie. So it's entirely possible that that is the case. So it's just like a little caveat. I do use the scheduler for this show for when I'm doing, like, if I'm organized enough to make thumbnails and stuff in advance, I will jump in and pop things into the schedule just to remind people that we have a live stream coming up. Just because we're still building our audience. We did actually get a few subscribers then based on the lovely promotion that we had during our sessions, which was really good. So thank you for joining us. If you saw us at the conference and you're like, yeah, they're worth an hour of my time once a month. So speaking of an hour of my time, my workshop, and I will just quickly add myself back to the stage there. My workshop was about Adobe Express and Premiere Pro, and I made my presentation in the presentation feature of Adobe Express, the slide deck, whatever you want to call it. And I came up with all of these different examples, which I did actually create QR codes for that are baked in to my slide deck that people can use. So if you want to pause the video and take a photo of these with your phone, they are remixable templates that you are more than welcome to go in and have a play with at your leisure. And one of them that I created on a bit of like a Mad Lib whim, because my kiddo at the moment is absolutely obsessed with a particular bug book that's a slide push pull. You move the pages in and out, the bugs move around, the bugs are doing bug things, and you have to find the ladybugs and that sort of thing. So I created a butterfly life cycle in the presentation tool that then I also mapped across onto a template for a video, because when you have something in Express that you set up as a presentation, you can export it as an MP4. The option is there when you go to the download button to export it as an MP4. But what I found when I did that on a presentation type file, and you will know that it is a presentation by the fact that it has that present button just at the top right hand corner of the screen next to the share, between the download button and the share button. When you have a presentation that has animations in it, it actually downloads every single individual slide as its own little tiny MP4 file into a big zip file. So it behaves very differently to when you select a project in Adobe Express that is a straight up video. You say it is a video, it gives you the timelines and everything that a presentation does. But when you tell it to download the project at the end, it downloads the entire thing as one video. So I did just think that was worth mentioning, because it is something, again, Ben, like you, I had a sundry list of all the things I wanted to talk about. I just did not get to touch on it because I ran out of time. I did practice though. I practiced and I had my timing down, and then it slipped out by 5 or 10 minutes during the live stream, which is always the way. So there was a couple of things in my life cycle of a butterfly that I wanted to cover off, particularly this. When it comes to biology and life cycles, this is something that can be reused from teachers from all levels, right? Because on one hand, you've got like the little kiddos who just want to, you say, where's the butterfly, where's the leaf, where's the caterpillar? You talk very largely about the different life cycles and how these sort of things work, all the way through to, if you were to use this same presentation in a senior school environment, you might actually get them to name some of the actual terminology of the different parts of the butterfly and the actual terminology for, how it pupates and everything like that. So there is a lot of applications for presentations like this that can be used across year levels and across cohorts of students. And you can make them quite engaging by just adding very, very soft touches of things to make them a little bit more visually appealing. And I know that it worked because my kiddo, who is just like pre-kindergarten, now storms into my office and goes, Mummy, we look at the butterflies. We look at the butterflies with the eggs and the butterfly and the caterpillar, and it goes, and then I just get stared at until I have a person sitting on my lap going over the slides that I've created. So it worked. It is enjoyed, which is always, if they keep coming back for more, you've done something right? So you can see here in this one, I've created some very gentle and subtle animations, and it might not be as evident. I'll just make that screen a wee bit bigger like that. There we go. So you can just see the eggs are moving a tiny bit and the leaf is bobbing ever so slightly, right? It just adds a little bit of visual interest to it. Now, I intentionally left a couple of things a little bit dodgy during my presentation because I wanted to show people how the cake is baked. It's always very important to me to share with people how the cake is baked. So when I found this picture to use for my background, I duplicated that picture and then used the remove background and erase tool. I tried the remove background, it didn't remove what I wanted, so I then manually erased things in the erasure tool to just get that leaf. I cropped the image down and I just have that leaf. And you can actually see if I move that layer a little bit, you can actually see the original leaf is still sitting behind it, okay? Which means that when I chose to animate said leaf, I went into the animation tool over here and I gave it a very soft, slow, drifty breeze and chose the animation, you can still just make out the original leaf sitting just behind it. If I gave the animation a little bit more personality, maybe made it a bit faster, maybe made it wiggle a little bit more, and then I hit the play button again, you can see the original leaf behind it even more. So before I duplicated my slide multiple times to show the full lifespan of the butterfly as I progressed through, what I could have chosen to do is I could have just moved my leafy leaf animation out of the way, selected the layer that had my background image that the butterfly interacts with, and I could have gone into the edit area and selected the remove object. Now, I'm going to need a slightly chunkier brush size than what it was initially suggesting because I want it to be completely removing that leaf from the background so it doesn't have like a weird overlay going on. And now my browser's choosing to freeze up a little bit. That's okay. It'll be all right on the night. So it doesn't have to be perfect because I've got a very, very like the depth of field on it. It's very blurry in the background, which is going to totally work in my favor here when I click the remove button. It's going to bake for a second. It's going to show me the area it's working on. And I actually quite like the gradient rainbow thing that it does on here. I think that looks really cool.
It is nice, isn't it?
It's very soothing. I find it very soothing. And it's going to offer me a couple of different options once it's finished thinking about it. So I'm not too concerned about the fact that it sort of leaves a little bit of a scar, but it gives you a few options that you can choose from to see which one you're the happiest with. Now, I kind of think the second option's probably the best out of them, just for that edge, not being as feathered as I like. But, you know, I'm not going to use up credits and generate more. I'm just going to hit the keep button, because it's not really about the background removal, is it? It is about me moving that little leafy leaf back to where I wanted it.
Yes, look at that. Neat. That's neat.
And then hitting that little animation again. And now my leaf is just drifting slightly on the breeze. The little eggy eggs are having a little bit of a thinky think. And then I go on to my next slide, where the eggs are gone, and now I have a caterpillar. Now, as I was going back through, I sort of went, you know what? On the link that I shared with everybody, I went in and refined some of these things. But for the purposes of the demonstration during the event, my plan was to go, okay, I went in and I went into elements and I searched for the caterpillar. And this is just how I found things for this presentation. I didn't, you know, go too crazy with hunting around for things. I just went through and looked at the design assets to see what was around. So like there's one of the prickly caterpillars. I remember those from when I was a kid. Oh boy, howdy, they are not nice to touch. And there's the little guy that I added to my presentation, right? And yes, he's probably not the right caterpillar for the type of butterfly that I picked, but that's okay. That is okay. I'm not doing a grade 12 biology. It's not a gotcha question, but it was a tiny egg, so it's going to be a tiny caterpillar, right? So I just resized that little caterpillar. And what I did was I actually did the same thing over here that I did over there, where I actually took the leaf, duplicated it, overlaid it, so then the caterpillar could actually like just be hiding behind the leaf right there. Like a cute little dude. Like there he is. He's so little because he hasn't eaten anything yet. And then there he is making his way along the leaf. And because I had done that little bit of scaling work and whatnot with that leaf, I then used the erasure tool to get that leaf in the first place. And every time I duplicated that, it would give me the same leaf. But because the whole point was that the caterpillar was going to start eating the leaf, I then went back into that erasure tool, changed the brush as I was going to use it, made sure I set it to circle brush, made the brush size quite small to make it look like a bit more of a caterpillar nom nom nom, made sure that the hardness was turned right up so that it gave me a really crisp edge rather than the soft kind of edge that I usually go for in this to make it blend a little bit better. So turn that hardness right up, and then I gave the caterpillar some nommy nom. And see, it looks like he's taken chunks out of the leaf, right? Easy as to get that effect. Just hit done. And if I hit the play button, I also added a little bit of an animation to the caterpillar. And that's actually, I think, a recent addition to that one. I don't remember Breeze being in there all that long ago. So it's a good effect. It is a good effect to have. And then as I progressed through, right, I then needed a chrysalis. So I chopped apart the first image that I had and using the erasure tool and the crop tool, just cropped that chrysalis so then I could show the different phases of it going from a hungry caterpillar to its first chrysalis, to, as you can see, it start to mature and start to break out, to when it becomes a beautiful butterfly. And added in the animation of it having a bit of a fly away. And then obviously then duplicate that again to have it come back to start the whole cycle again. And add some eggs. So it kind of like does its thing for a little second on the leaf, and then the last thing that it does is it flies away. And it's supposed to fly away, but obviously I'm having a little bit of an issue today with it getting a little bit jittery on my screen for me. But if I just grab that whole butterfly, which I actually split into 3 parts so that the wings actually move individually ever so slightly.
Nice.
And there's the eggs just hiding underneath there. There we go. So there's like lots of little things that you can do where, like, obviously this isn't character animated, this isn't Premiere Pro, this isn't After Effects. You don't have like the full suite of all of the controls for speed, duration, movement, start location, finish location, but you can do enough with this software where, like, by splitting the wings out and the body out to make them slightly individual, I could have it jitter so that it looked like it was laying eggs on the screen. I could set an out animation so that it tumbled out of screen and it had a slight rotation. I could choose the direction that it went. So as it goes, it kind of just like does its thing for a little bit and then leaves. And it can be really, really effective. And the initial setup of when I first built this took me maybe 20 minutes. And then, like with all things, I started to like put it down, get a little bit obsessed with it, go, oh, maybe if I tried a different effect on that. And then I just kept tweaking it over like the week or so preceding the event until I had this massive template where I'm like, well, I have to create a QR code and share that as a remixable template now, because as Ben said, I didn't want it to end up in a project graveyard where it was like, oh yeah, it was briefly touched on in slides for like a couple of minutes one October in 2025, and then just languished in the back catalogue of my Adobe Express projects forever. That just felt too sad.
It's too good. Butterflies.
So, yeah, and bugs of all kinds. It doesn't have to be a beautiful butterfly. It can be any kind of bug. You can pick a gnarly bug. You can pick lizards. You can pick anything and just add some animations to tell a little bit of a story. It doesn't have to be a complicated story. And if my 3-year-old kiddo keeps asking for it, then yeah, it's obviously visually interesting enough to not just hold attention while it's in front of the face, but then also for them to ask for it again and again.
So you heard it here first. Heard it here first, folks. Erin says, share your bugs.
Share your bugs.
Share your bugs.
Yeah, share these kind of bugs. Please, if you're sick, stay at home. If you have to go to the shops, wear a mask.
Any kind of bug, Erin said, I think it was.
No.
Not just butterflies, any kind.
You don't hear things I didn't say.
It's a direct quote.
But anyway, so I'll remove that share from the screen now and I'll bring us up. So we're just over the 1 hour mark. So we might cap it off there.
Sounds good. Good job.
Thank you very, very, very much. And obviously a big thanks to Tim Kitchen for joining us for his little segment. The kitchen thing, which I think when we shared the video before, it kind of cut it off a little bit. I did quickly pop that together again in Express with a few little animations and the sound effects panel. So maybe in the next episode we might break apart how I quickly created that little intro video to add to our segment. And thank you so much for your time and attention, everyone who's watching on demand. And thank you to Ben, who, as always, is a wonderfully generous co-host.
You are. It's good fun. Thank you for having me.
Yep. And to bed, I said it is time for all of the children on this stream to go to bed.
Good evening.
So, good evening and good night.
See ya. Bye.
Take care all. Bye-bye.